Jeffrey Proud here, author of Megasmart, a book on the guide to parent-driven education. This seminar, however, is for online presentation, and it is really based on the fact that I made quite a bit of money while I was in business, which was about 35 years of my life before I sold the business. And I was fortunate enough to have made probably in the neighborhood of $10 million. I've lost about $8 million of that, which isn't the good part of this seminar, but it's worth discussing that part of it because of the fact that knowing how not to deal with money is just as important sometimes as knowing how much to deal with money. Anyhow, I made enough money so that my friends kept telling me, why don't you tell somebody about this? Well, that's what I'm doing. The seminar here that I'm presenting online is your introduction to exactly that. How to gain wealth and success by thinking big. All right. Most of my money was made by virtue of what I would call wits. You know, an ability to kind of deal in the world of business without necessarily a great knowledge of business. I will share that with you, and then we will go on from there. There's going to be multiple aspects to this presentation. The big one is how to gain wealth. And I realize wealth isn't the only thing that makes you successful. A lot of money is not necessarily the ingredients of success, but you do want to plan for your future. You want to have a legacy. You want to provide for your children, your family, your retirement. So these things are important, and knowing how to deal with these things are the crux of what I'm going to be telling you about. So, later on in the seminar, I'll describe to you exactly where I'm coming from and what made me the way I am. And I do have live seminars, which I will show you how to get to later on in this seminar, so that you can come and see me personally, if you wish. The idea here is for me to present the same things basically that I'm going to tell you online, except for the fact that I'll be doing it live and in person, and therefore you can ask me questions and I can deal with you interactively on how money is actually made. Money is kind of a funny thing. It didn't always exist, and it has got a tremendously funny history. Today it's a very important aspect on how we function, how the world functions, and how we deal with it. But understanding the concept of money, how it acts internationally, how it transcends borders, how banks deal with it, how it's invested into our culture is part of the thinking big that you have to understand to actually make some money doing this. All right. So the first thing is let's get right to it. How do you make money? Well, the first thing you got to do to make money is there's probably 6 basic ways of making money. One of which is the old-fashioned way by getting a job, which we'll talk about first. The second one is by virtue of investments, kind of the Warren Buffett way of making money. A third way is real estate, right, which has changed over my lifetime quite a bit, but there's still great opportunities in real estate, and that should be taken into consideration and probably should be part of your nest egg of wealth, your portfolio, so to speak, if you want to use common jargon for this. Okay, the fourth way to make money is by virtue of being in business, entrepreneurial type of business, where you are a contractor, a salesman, like a manufacturer's representative, where you sell yourself as an independent contractor to manufacturers to market their goods in places where they don't normally get. All right. A fifth method of making money is manufacturing, and by inventing products. Also in that frame is you can be a product inventor without being a manufacturer. There's plenty of manufacturers out there who would love to have good quality ideas to manufacture. They just need someone to invent them and bring them to them. I've done both. I've invented an electronic bezel, which has been for sale for 20 years and still is being sold on the market. I've invented a wire spooler called a bud winder that is made for winding up leads for these basic earphone things that Apple makes for their little phones, and so does all the other people, all the Android phones, all the people out there that make smartphones use earbuds or earplugs, and those need to be wound up and stored somewhere. So I invented a product for that. And there are probably other products that I could invent, that I have invented, some of which I've sold, some of which I've kept, some of which are still under development. All right. A sixth way of making money is by another form of entrepreneurialism, and that is to package and sell your advice or to package and sell your ideas and concepts in the form of books, online seminars, e-books, audio books, things of that nature, basically to pass on good advice to other people, and I'll show you how to do that. So first of all, let's get down to the idea of making money by virtue of the old-fashioned way, and that is getting a job. All right, now, the best way to get a job is to find one where the industry actually needs people. All right, so I've actually written some of these down. I'll get them for you. There are several people that publish lists of these, and you should be aware of them. One is Kiplinger, which is a financial newsletter that people buy, and they publish a list of desirable jobs, and that is essentially jobs that are going to be here and probably grow for the next decade or 2 decades, up until maybe 2025. So if you can master a job that has a good stability factor for 25 years, that would be a great thing to do. Also, getting jobs isn't as difficult as people think. Other people, when you get a job, you're essentially selling your time to somebody else. And you have to understand the big thinking part of that is the employer has to make more money from you than they pay you. You have to be profitable to them. Now, in the case, or necessary, in the case of a business, if you are assembling a product, obviously you're necessary. Your labor then becomes part of the cost of production of a product, which is important. All right, if you are a management person, then you deal in the world of accounting or sales keeping or administrative work. That isn't a job that directly contributes to the value of a product, but it's necessary because you need to communicate, you need to transpire and deal with the government, with other forms of communications with your customers, with your suppliers, and whatnot, and you need somebody to carry out those functions for you. So that's the administrative aspect. Now, manufacturers like to keep that aspect down. because it doesn't directly contribute to their product. And they want to reduce or keep at a minimum these administrative costs. But let's go through some of these things. This is from the Kiplinger one, and the Kiplinger one I like because it deals with what I consider to be normal kinds of jobs. There's normal kinds of jobs, and then there's kind of exotic jobs. Exotic jobs deal in the world of high-class computer data analysis, which takes some skill sets that are in the world of administration and mathematics, which we will cover, but not right away. The first section we'll deal with is what I consider to be the normal jobs. All right, now, the first job that I found on Kiplinger's list is a registered nurse. That's going to be in demand for the next 25 years, and to me, for obvious reasons. You know, people are getting older. The baby boomers are now all starting to retire, right? I'm a little bit ahead of the baby boomer group of people because of the fact that those people, I guess, were started in 1946 or something like that, that generation of people after World War II. And anyhow, those people are starting to retire. They're now becoming 65 years old. Their lives have been lengthened by virtue of advances in science and medicine, technology. You know, we now have MRI machines, PET scans, CAT scans. We now have ranges of drugs that are antibacterial, that are antibiotic. And now we're dealing on the advent of genetic drugs, biologic drugs, and drugs that'll deal with antiviral things. We're on the verge of beating a lot of things that were considered to be unbeatable.